Good morning, and we are in chapter, what are we in? 56, I think, and verse 22. And it came to pass that we kept spies round about to watch the movements of the Lamanites, that they might. Okay, let's go back a little bit. So Helaman came with his stripling warriors to help Antipas and his army protect the lands, and they got enough of an army that they thought, well, we really would like to attack these people, but we fight the Lamanites to take on the offensive, basically. But how are they going to do that? And so that's where they are. And came to pass that we kept spies round about to watch the movements of the Lamanites, that they might not pass us by night nor by day, to make an attack upon our other cities, which were in the northward. For we knew that those cities they were not sufficiently strong to meet them. Therefore, we were desirous, if they should pass us by, to fall upon us in their rear, thus pass by us, to fall upon them in their rear, and thus bring them up in the rear at the same time they were met in the front. We supposed that we should overpower them, but behold, we were disappointed in our desire. So they had a stratagem, but it wasn't working, because apparently the Lamanites didn't get the same memo. And they durst not pass by us with their whole army, neither durst they with a part, lest they should not be sufficiently strong, and they should fall. Neither durst they march down against the city of Zarahemla, neither durst they cross the head of Sidon over to the city of Nephihah. Thus, with their forces, they were determined to maintain those cities which they had taken. And now it came to pass that in the 2nd month of this year there was brought unto us many provisions from the fathers of those my 2,000 sons. Also there was sent 2,000 men from the land of Zarahemla, and thus we were prepared with 10,000 men and provisions for them, and also their wives and their children. So it's interesting that they have their wives and children come with them at this time. And the Lamanites, thus seeing our forces increase daily, and provisions arrive for our support, they began to be fearful, and began to sally forth, if it were possible, to put an end to our receiving provisions and strength. Now when we saw that the Lamanites began to grow uneasy on this wise, we were desirous to bring a stratagem into effect upon them. Therefore Antipas ordered that I should march, so it's definitely Antipas is the one that's in charge here, should march forth with my little sons to a neighboring city, as if we were carrying provisions to a neighboring city. And we were to march near the city of Antipara, as if we were going to the city beyond, in the borders by the seashore. And it came to pass that we did march forth, as if with our provisions, to go to the city. Now notice that they're using them in a non-battle sense right now, that it was up to Antipas to take the brunt of the fighting. And it came to pass that Antipas marched forth with a part of his army, leaving the remainder to maintain the city. But he did not march forth until I had gone forth with my little army, and came near the city of Antipara. And it came to pass that now in the city of Antipara were stationed the strongest army of the Lamanites, yea, the most numerous. And it came to pass that when they had been informed of their spies by their spies, they came forth with their army and marched against us. And it came to pass that we did flee before them northward, and thus we did lead away the most powerful army of the Lamanites, yea, even a considerable distance, insomuch that when they saw the army of Antipas pursuing them with their might, they did not turn to the right nor their left, but pursued their march into the straight course after us. And as we supposed, it was their intent to slay us before Antipas should overtake them, and this that they might not be surrounded by our people. It must have looked, these were young men. They thought, we're seasoned professionals, we can take these people and we can cut our way through. Now Antipas, beholding our danger, did speed the march of his army, but behold, it was night, and therefore they did not overtake us, neither did Antipas overtake them. Therefore we did camp for the night. And it came to pass that before the dawn of the morning, behold, the Lamanites were pursuing us. Now we were not sufficiently strong to contend with them. I would not suffer that my little sons would fall into their hands. Therefore we did continue our march, and we took our march into the wilderness. Now they durst not turn to the right nor the left, lest they should be surrounded. Neither would I turn to the right or the left, lest they should to overtake me. And we could not stand against them, but be slain, and they would make their escape. And thus we did flee all that day into the wilderness, even until it was dark. And it came to pass that again, when the light of morning came, we saw the Lamanites upon us, and we did flee before them. But it came to pass that they did not pursue us far before they halted, and it was the morning of the 3rd day of the 7th month. Now, whether they were overtaken by Antipas, we knew not. But I said unto my men, behold, we know not, but that they had halted for the purpose that we should come against them, that they might catch us in their snare. Therefore, what say ye, my sons? Will ye go against them to battle? Now, I want to point out right now, all of this dialogue that we had here, and you're going, it's just a lot of strategy and everything. Now picture having all of that and being abridged to, now Helaman joined Antipas, and they went to battle with the Lamanites, and then miss out this part here, or try to put this in. The emotion that we have right now is like, what's going to happen? Are they going to die? What's going to happen? And now I say unto you, my beloved brother Moroni, that never had I seen so great courage, nay, amongst all the Nephites, but as I had ever called them my sons, for they were all of them very young. Even so they said unto me, Father, behold, our God is with us, and he will not suffer that we should fall. Then let us go forth, that we would not slay our brethren, if they would let us alone. Therefore let us go, lest they should overpower the army of Antipas. Now they never had fought, yet they did not fear death, and they did think more upon the liberty of their fathers than they did upon their lives. Yea, they had been taught by their mothers that they did not doubt God would have delivered. If they did not doubt, God would have delivered them. And they rehearsed unto me the words of their mothers, saying, We do not doubt. Our mothers knew it. If we didn't have all this other stuff, we would not understand how important these words were to them. And maybe we wouldn't understand how it would tie so much more into our lives when we face things, that we can have that sure knowledge of God in our hardest situations. Moroni could have just thrown that in chapter 27, I think it is, or chapter 47, I believe, where he first talks about this army going out. Remember, he mentioned the army in a few verses and said, yeah, they became a strong force for us, and that was it. He could have left it there, but he didn't, because this is immensely a good way for us to know and gain this thing for ourselves. And then to keep this going, let's find out what happened when they did this. What happens, We want to find out. We're emotionally involved now. And it came to pass that I did return with my 2,000 against these Lamanites who had pursued us. And now behold, the armies of Antipas had overtaken them, and a terrible battle had commenced. The army of Antipas, being weary because of their long march in so short a space of time, were about to fall into the hands of the Lamanites, and had I not returned with my 2,000, they would have obtained their purpose, for Antipas had fallen by the sword, and many of his leaders, because of their weariness, which was occasioned by the speed of their march. Therefore the men of Antipas, being confused because of the fall of their leaders, began to give way before the Lamanites. And it came to pass the Lamanites took courage and began to pursue them. And thus were the Lamanites pursuing them with great vigor when Helaman came upon them in their rear. Notice it's gone to Helaman. He's said, okay, Helaman, he's quoting Helaman. Now he's saying, well, Helaman gives a little more here. We don't need that. We just need to know this. Came upon them in their rear, his 2,000, and began to slay them exceedingly, insomuch that the whole army of the Lamanites halted and turned upon Helaman. Now when the people of Antipas saw the Lamanites had turned them about, they gathered together their men and came again upon the rear of the Lamanites. And it came to pass that we, the people of Nephi and the people of Antipas, and I with my 2,000. Now it's going back to his narrative. He's reduced how much Helaman wrote, and now he's going back to the narrative. Did surround the Lamanites and did slay them, insomuch that they were compelled to deliver up their weapons of war, also themselves as prisoners of war. And it came to pass that when they had surrendered themselves, behold, I numbered those men who had fought with me, fearing lest there were many of them slain. But behold, to my great joy, there was not one soul of them fallen to the earth. Yea, and they had fought as if with the strength of God. Yea, never were men known to have fought with such miraculous strength and with such mighty power, that they did fall upon the Lamanites, and they did frighten them. For this cause did the Lamanites deliver themselves up as prisoners of war. Remember, this is the first time they'd ever fought. They may have practiced. There was times that they probably never even saw a weapon. And as they had no place for our prisoners, that we could guard them to keep them from the armies of the Lamanites. Therefore we sent them to the land of Zarahemla, and a part of those men who were not slain of Antipas with them, and the remainder I took and joined them with my stripling Ammonites, and took our march back to the city of Judea. So they still haven't got Antipara. They just got the army out of Antipara, or at least most of them. Now it came to pass that I received an epistle from Ammoron. Now notice this is very much like what Moroni got, stating that if he would deliver up I would deliver up those prisoners of war whom we had taken, that he would deliver up the city of Antipara unto us. They had already taken the army out of Antipara, but I sent an epistle to the king and said, we are sure our forces are sufficient to take the city of Antipara by our force, and by delivering up the prisoners of the city we should suppose ourselves unwise. Yeah, let's just put the army back in. No. That we would only deliver up our prisoners in exchange. And Ammoron refused mine epistle, for he would not exchange prisoners. Therefore he began to make preparations to go against the city of Antipara. But the people of Antipara did leave the city and fled to other cities which they had possession of, to fortify them. And thus the city of Antipara fell into our hands. That simple. And thus ended the 28th year of the reign of the judges. And it came to pass that, now remember, this is 2 years later. And it came to pass in the commencement of the 29th year, we received a supply of provisions, also in addition to our army, from the land of Zarahemla, from the land round about, and the number of 6,000 men, besides 60 of the sons of the Ammonites, who had come to join their brethren, my little band of 2,000. Now behold, we were strong, yea, and we also had plenty of provisions brought unto us. So I think of it this way: those 60 sons, this is like 2 years later, and there was probably some young boys who's just, I want to go. No, you're too young, you can't go. And 2 years later, their voice drops, I want to go. And they said, well, yeah, well, my brother went at this age. Okay, you can go now. And so I really think these 60 are those that were just off the cutoff point, and now they're old enough to go. And it came to pass that it was our desire to wage battle with the army which was placed to protect the city of Cumeni. And now behold, I will show unto you that we soon accomplished our desire with our strong force, or with a part of our strong force. We did surround by night the city of Cumeni, and little before they were to receive a supply of provisions. And it came to pass that we did camp around about the city for many nights, but we did sleep upon our swords and keep guards, that the Lamanites could not come upon us by night and slay us, which they attempted many times, but as many times as they attempted this, their blood was spilled. At length their provisions did arrive, and they were about to enter the city by night, and instead of being Lamanites, we, instead of being Lamanites, were Nephites. Therefore we did take them and their provisions, and notwithstanding the Lamanites being cut off from their support after this manner, they were still determined to maintain the city. Therefore it became expedient that we should take those provisions and send them to Judea, and our prisoners to the land of Zarahemla. And it came to pass that not many days had passed away before the Lamanites began to lose all hopes of succor. Therefore they yielded up the city unto our hands, and thus we had accomplished our designs in obtaining the city Cumeni. And it came to pass that our prisoners were so numerous that, notwithstanding the enormity of our numbers, we were obliged to employ all our force to keep them, or to put them to death. For behold, they would break out in great numbers, and would fight with stones and clubs, or whatsoever thing they could get their hands up, insomuch that we did slay upwards of 2,000 of them, after they had surrendered themselves prisoners of war. That's a lot of people. Therefore it became expedient for us that we should put an end to their lives, or guard them, sword in hand, down to the land of Zarahemla. And also our provisions were not any more than sufficient for our own people, notwithstanding that which we had taken from the Lamanites. Now in these critical circumstances it became a very serious matter to determine concerning these prisoners of war. Nevertheless we did resolve to send them down to the land of Zarahemla. Therefore we selected a part of our men, and gave them a charge over our prisoners to go down to the land of Zarahemla. And it came to pass that on the morrow they did return. And now, behold, we did not inquire of them concerning the prisoners, for behold, the Lamanites were upon us, and they returned in season to save us from falling into the hands. For behold, Ammoron had sent to their support a new supply of provisions, also a numerous army, right on the tail of what they didn't want. And it came to pass that those men whom we sent with the prisoners did arrive in season to check them, as they were about to overpower us. But behold, my little band of 2,060 fought most desperately, and they were firm before the Lamanites, and did administer death to all those who opposed them. And as the remainder of our army were about to give way before the Lamanites, behold, those 2,060 were firm and undaunted, and they did obey and observe to perform every word of command, even according to their faith it was done unto them. And I did remember the words which they said unto me, that their mothers taught them. And now behold, it was these my sons, and those men who had been selected to convey the prisoners, to whom we owe this great victory, for it was they who did beat the Lamanites. Therefore they were driven back to the land of Manti, and we retained the city of Cumeni, and were not all destroyed by the sword. Nevertheless we suffered great loss. And I'm going to end it there, because we're going to find out how much that loss is tomorrow, I think. What the heck, let's read it. And it came to pass that after the Lamanites had fled, I immediately gave orders to the men who had been wounded. That my men who had been wounded to be taken from among the dead, and caused that their wounds should be dressed. And it came to pass that there were 200 out of my 2,060 who had fainted because of the loss of blood. Nevertheless, according to the goodness of God, and to our great astonishment, and the joy of our whole army, there was not one soul of them who did perish, and neither was there one soul among them who had not received many wounds. I might finish there, because I want to just mention what that means to me. Now, I told you that putting all this stratagem and everything in between builds up what he's trying to really get to. We could not have these scriptures here without having the stuff before. Now, 200 of the 2,060 had fainted for loss of blood. As when you're in the battle, 200 of those young men had fallen, and their friends and their compatriots, or whatever you want to call them, would have seen these 200 fall during the battle, and they could have been as dead as anybody else, but they'd only fainted for loss of blood. And every single one of them had not received many wounds. There's not one soul among them who had not received many wounds. Every single one of them. How do we apply that? To me, that means that when we look at our youth, and when I look at my children and things, I think when they deal with so many things in life right now, it might not be a war like this, but it might be spiritually. We may see them faint, or we may see them wounded with many of the things that they have to deal with, mentally, physically, socially, all these different things. Remember to doubt not, but believe in God, and according to the goodness of God, they will come out on top. Believe in them, believe in the goodness of God, and know that not one soul will perish if we believe and doubt not in God, even though it looks like that things are wrong. And I think I'm going to leave it there today, and then tomorrow we'll get the rest of the story. And I hope you have a good day, and doubt not God. And